Hi, Jody Hardesty with Empowered Heart Connections. Many people have conflict in their relationship over issues that they did not address in the beginning dating parts of their relationship. Not only is it important to make sure that you have your own clarity about what you want with these topics, but it's also important to address these issues when you're dating. Some of those topics are children. Children are one of those issues that we've mentioned before that are kind of a non-negotiable. You either have them or you don't. There's not really much of a compromise in that area. So it's very important to make sure that you and your potential future partner are on the same page when it comes to what that looks like. Another topic is finances. Finances is also an area that many couples have high conflict over, especially when they have differences in how they want to save money, how they want to spend money, what they want for their future, and what that looks like for them long term, and also combining finances. Many couples have established great ways to have separate finances and have a combined income when it comes to expenses that are shared expenses, but having separate accounts when it comes to fun expenditures like lattes and things that don't necessarily need a consultation with the other partner. So these are two major topics that I'm going to cover today that I feel like are also a little bit related, right? Because having children, especially depending on how you go about doing that, can be costly, especially if, depending on the age, you may have to involve IVF or fertility issues. So the first issue, talking about children and relationships, first of all is, what does that look like for you? Are you of a certain age where that needs to be kind of a time frame crunch? That obviously there is a limit to the period of time that women can have children in the most effective way. Obviously there are other alternatives. That's always an option as well, but for you to explore what that looks like for you, what feels right for you and for your future. And even though it's not really a first, second, or third date conversation, relatively soon into the relationship, when you've discovered that this person seems to be trustworthy, they seem to be someone who's also committed to potentially developing relationship and a potential partner for you, to explore what that conversation will look like. The other part of that is, if you have kids already, if you are bringing kids into the relationship, or he is bringing in kids to the relationship, what does that process look like? So there's many elements to bringing children into a relationship that need to be addressed in order to, again, prevent conflict down the line. So if you are planning on having children, again, being clear with your future partner about what that timeline looks like for you and where you're at with that, whether it's something you want in the future, whether you want it's something that you have more of an urgency to address due to basically biology. And if you do have children that you're bringing into the relationship, to address what that would look like, and really be sure to take your time to introduce your children to your future partners as well, because children can experience a lot of trauma and stress just from divorce and separation alone, especially if there's a lot of high conflict with the other parent. So introducing a new partner can be really stressful for kids. So that is really essential that you are cautiously approaching how you introduce the child to the new partner. The new partner also needs to be clear with what those expectations are, and does that look like they're going to be in a parental role, or does that look like they're going to be more of a friend role to the kid? And obviously this changes depending on what age the child is. So there's all kinds of ramifications that can come from blended families. They can be beautiful. I have seen the family on occasion that has blended families really eloquently, and they all are collaborative and cooperative. Though there is a high level of conflict when it comes to blended families, so that can be a really stressful issue as well. So be sure that you're really clear on what those subjects are. Is, again, slowly introducing the child to the new person, making sure you're both clear on what those roles are, what that step parenting role would be, And typically, especially in the very beginning of a blended family relationship, it's really important to make sure that the new step parent or the person in the step parent role takes their time to really get to know and befriend the child before they really have any parental involvement. So those are just some tips to slow down that process of integrating that blended family. Again, recognizing that it's important to address what stage of life that you are whenever you are potentially going to have children, and how that looks for both of you before you really decide to commit to moving forward in the relationship. The other part of parenting is obviously discipline roles. What are you thinking? How were you raised? What did that look like in your family? How did you talk with your kids, or how did your parents talk with you about emotions? And how do you want to talk to your kids about emotions? How do you want to talk to your kids about discipline? How do you want to set parameters and boundaries for your kids? And this is really something that you and your partner are going to need to be collaborative on, because it is true that many people who have children have conflict over their parenting styles, especially if they've never discussed that before they have children. So one person can think that it's really okay to be authoritarian, very directive, and maybe spank the kids, and the other parent thinks that that's totally off limits and out of line. And again, you can see how that would lead to a pretty good divide in that relationship. So not only are you exploring who you want to be a partner with, but you're potentially exploring who you want to be a parent with, for those of you who want to have kids or have kids already. So it's not an impossible issue, obviously, but it's really important to make sure that you are all on the same page when it comes to those topics whenever you are parenting kids or when you're planning on parenting kids. The other part of that is do you want to adopt? Are you looking into in vitro fertilization? Is there some other alternative that your future partner may need to be on board with in order to move forward with that? So really being clear with each other about what those expectations are, what those hopes are, what your dreams are. How many kids do you want to have? Is one enough? Are you looking for a whole brood? And is your partner on board with that? So these conversations can be really crucial to establishing whether or not you really are a good match and whether you can move forward in a positive way for the relationship. The other part that is, and sometimes can be tied to that, is finances. Obviously, if you are going to move forward with adoption or in vitro fertilization, those things cost a good amount of money, and that is a conversation that needs to be addressed on how you would approach that. Would you do it 50-50? Do you each make a reasonably amount compared to the other? Or does one person make way more than the other? And is one of you willing or able to contribute more than one of the other ones are? And finances, for another aspect of that, can become an area of conflict if you are feeling resentful of the other person for making more money, or maybe the person for making less money because they're not contributing as much. So these topics can be a preventative method to avoiding conflict when you have a relationship. And it's easy to think, oh, we'll figure that out later because we're having so much fun in this honeymoon stage. But those are real deal breakers when it comes down to it. When people have really saved a lot of money and they're worried about potentially having that be lost in a potential separation situation. So really being clear with each other about what you want that to look like. Again, do you want to have separate accounts? Do you want to have a joint account? Do you want to have a certain amount of money that you contribute to a group pot? Or do you really just want to pay bills separately and split things separately? You pay the mortgage, I'll pay something else, or the car payments, or however that works to divide that up. But those are some major issues that people tend up having really disagreements around, is how do we spend our money? How do we save our money? The other part of finances is, are you okay with having credit card debt? Are you okay with having debt in general? And is debt different depending on whether it's a mortgage or a car payment or credit card debt? So these are some helpful topics to evaluate whenever you're moving forward in a relationship, to really let you know if you can move in the same direction or if you guys can come to a compromise. And perhaps your potential partner has yet to think about this situation, and maybe they're working on saving more money, or maybe they're working on getting better at having some sort of balanced budget. And those are all helpful conversations for you to be a part of and really explore together so that you can find out whether or not you can even collaborate with these topics. It's also important to recognize that you can address difficult concepts or difficult topics that may be stressful. Money can be a stressful conversation, so this can be really informative for you just to have these conversations and really explore even how your future partner navigates this stressful conversation, particularly if they are largely stressed out about finances or about having children. So I hope this has been helpful. Again, these are some top 2 really areas that people have disagreements about and end up coming to therapy for. So if you can address some of these issues and really make sure you're on the same page before you get to being in a committed relationship with this person, you can really save yourself a lot of heartache down the line. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful.